You're listening to Montreal Now with Aaron Rand and Natasha Hall on CJAD 800.
That is James Mennie. He is over at the Montreal Gazette. Jim, I thought we'd start today with where is Justin Trudeau going to live? So it looks like 24 Sussex Drive is not going to do the job anymore, and we've been talking about how bad things are there. I was kidding earlier in the show when I first mentioned it, saying I found him a lovely two-bedroom in Parkdale, which is apparently a really nice place in Ottawa. It's about $3,500 a month, and I thought, imagine if he did that, right? Put a rental. How good he would look to Canadians.
Except he needs an extra bedroom.
Can you imagine how the neighbors would be overjoyed to have RCMP stakeout cars all around that thing?
Now there's that, yeah.
Well, I suggested maybe a trailer on the front lawn of Parliament Hill.
Like an RV kind of thing, right?
No, I think a refrigerator box put on top of a recycled wagon. You know,
that's being a bit harsh, Jim. Listen, Pierre Poilievre was asked about this today.
Yeah.
Where Justin Trudeau should live, said this.
We don't need a new home for the Prime Minister. We need a new home for working-class Canadians. Yeah.
By the way, that came from Natasha. That was not part of the scrum. So, Jim, what do you make of all this?
Well, I know that Stornoway has, 32 rooms and God knows how many bathrooms. Stornoway, by the way, for folks who are just joining us, is where Pierre Poilievre lives as leader of the official opposition and does so on the public's dime. So, you know what? Maybe he just should have, took a step back. But Pierre Poilievre never takes a step back. And the reason why the 24 Sussex, this ongoing scandal, has been booted from one government to the next. I mean, they've been talking about this for like 40 years. And the fact is, nobody wants to get into that situation where Canadians won't blink if you spend $1 billion on a program they never heard of because it's so abstract. But my God, buying a new house for the Prime Minister, especially in the midst of a housing crisis, that's where we are. The fact is, 24 Sussex, last I heard, had a repair budget estimate of $37 million.
Jeez.
Okay, so now we're sort of entering now Big O territory. Is it better for us to blow it up or to fix it or whatever?
Yeah.
And quietly, the National Capital Commission has been, looking around for sites within Ottawa that are, big enough to entertain and so on. Because let's face it, when you've got, say, I don't know, the head of the European Union coming over, yeah, you could go to Timmy's drive-through, but maybe you want to have him come over, have some vittles, have some home-cooked vittles at the official residence.
Vittles.
And I find it interesting because there's a real stress now. The location has to be strategically viable for security. In other words, it can't be too close to major roads. It can't be too open. And guess what? You actually, in this day and age, you have to consider another dimension of whether threats can come from above. So there's a bevy of issues here. I fearless prediction, this is not going to get solved within the next term or the term after of whoever winds up being Prime Minister of this country. But I think it speaks volumes about how in this country being a perpetual dithering cheapskate is smart politics. When it comes to something like this, you're playing it smart. When you would sooner let the official residence of the Prime Minister of Canada literally crumble before your eyes than sort of like see disparaging remarks, as are already being piled up at the bottom of any news report on this.
It is embarrassing, isn't it, to some degree, right?
rats.
Around the rest of the world, people looking at this and thinking this is what they're talking about in Canada. Look at the state of the house that the Prime Minister of that country has to live in.
But nobody wants to touch it. So I totally get what you're saying. You just keep passing it off and hoping somebody else is going to let it be someone else's problem.
But this is it. I mean, let it sink in for a sec what we're talking about here. And why? I mean, it's just, we don't want people to get, angry and think of us as being, spendthrifts and unaware of how to spend the taxpayers' money and so on and so forth. Because, and yes, it's the old adage that people get angry over things that they can understand, that they can grasp, and they can certainly grasp this. It's a new house for this guy Trudeau. No, it isn't. It's an official residence for the Prime Minister of Canada.
Hey, Jim, I was going to say, can he have a fancy eating table for his vittles? Is that okay? Or
you mean like a billiard table?
Yeah, like Yes.
Now, for those of you just joining us, Aaron and I are engaged in half-century-old TV trivia.
Beverly Hillbillies trivia,
TV tables. You could just have those little fold-out trays that everybody puts on their laps.
That'd be a great picture, wouldn't it, to see the Prime Minister eating on a TV fold-out little tray table? That'd be the best.
Yeah, TV tray table. Yeah. And why not? Just I don't think Swanson makes them anymore, but we can make our own little TV dinners.
A hungry man dinner for the Prime Minister. Here. Hey, let me move on to talk provincial politics. Your headline's interesting. You say Legault government is proof you don't have to be credible to be popular. Are we talking about him specifically or the government in general?
I'm talking about this crazy, nutty magic kingdom we live in. Earlier this week, we were talking about a Legault survey that said that, you know what, the Legault government enjoys 37% support among Quebecers. If there was an election tomorrow, based on these numbers, they would win another majority. Yeah. Now, the same poll, the same polling company, the same survey has determined that 75% of Quebecers absolutely do not believe a single word about what this government has to say about constructing any kind of a link between Quebec City and Lévis, which kind of, you know, like I say, I got into journalism because I'm lousy at math, but you got 75% who say I don't believe this government, 37% who say that I support it. So I'm thinking there's going to be some overlap here. You know what I mean? How can you not trust the government? How can you basically say the government's a liar and then turn around and say, yeah, I'm going to vote for him? Now, maybe the tunnel had nothing to do with you, but I think simple logic would suggest if they lied about this, what else will they lie about? And perhaps more importantly, what else have they lied about and we don't know about yet?
To that end, do you think this Jean Talon riding means anything, this by-election, if and when it happens?
I think it means more than we have seen so far. I have never seen a sitting government, especially one like this, that's got now 89 seats in a 125-seat legislature, treating this like the D-Day invasion. The other thing that gets me, guys, is how long, like they officially announced their candidate today, and it's this woman from the riding, very well known, no surprises there. But, I mean, does Legault wait until the numbers widen between the CAQ and the PQ before he calls the by-election?
Yeah, why?
Or should he just be calling it in the interest of the people of Jean Talon who need some kind of representation in the provincial legislature?
So that's what I was wondering. Why the delay here, Jim? Like, what's the tactic? Like, that seat is not a make or break seat. Like, what's the dealio?
I think the deal here is one of symbolism. I think the deal is, you know, if in the polls, if the PQ seems to have the wind in its sails, a win here would actually turn that into a hurricane. And the fact is, I think the CAQ is very concerned about that. They realize they took a hit out of misrepresenting what was going to happen with that, you know, link between Quebec City and Lévis. And I'm not sort of pointing the finger at François Legault, and yet he's the guy who has to call this election. He has 6 months to do so. So I'm surprised, and maybe we will be hearing it. You know, if the opposition turns around and says, "Are you waiting for a favorable time? Are you waiting for a time period, a window in the polls that'll favor your candidate in this by-election?" Because honestly, you know, ideally, we should get this done before, you know, Christmas. You know, maybe even before, you know, Canadian Thanksgiving. I'm looking at the calendar right now. I don't understand why, say, Monday, October 2nd, or any of the Mondays in October would be unsuitable for that. And maybe by the end of the week, François Legault will prove me wrong. But right now, if I was, you know, a member of the CAQ or an organizer for the CAQ, and certainly if I was in the opposition, I would see a target-rich environment with a premier who is not calling a by-election. And meanwhile, these polls are, you know, slipping out, showing that, you know, it's neck and neck with the PQ. This whole thing stinks. Like I said yesterday, it's like a very, very ugly grudge match in professional wrestling. Never seen a by-election this brutally fought, even before it's been called. So we're gonna have to try and figure out which way this is going to go. But in the meantime, I'm still scratching my head over a survey. You know, a subset of the survey says, yeah, most people don't trust the government when it comes to this major campaign promise that they made and backed off of, and yet for some reason, the support overall for that party remains essentially unchanged.
Doesn't add up.
That's what you give you to scratch your head about. Jim, thank you. Appreciate it.
Adam.